this project is to develop an IPCC compliant greenhouse gas monitoring and reporting system for the land use sector that will ultimately feed into Singapore's total carbon emission pool. This project has just started since end of 2013, and I'm more than happy to introduce this next presentation as I'm directly involved in managing this project. The presentation will be given by Dr. Michael Kleiner from the Austrian Natural Resources Management and International Cooperation Agency, or ANRICA for short, and Dr. Sean Lam from the National Institute of Education. However, I understand that Dr. Sean Lam is away, and Ms. Ngo Kang Min, also from the National Institute of Education, will present on his behalf. So let's welcome first Dr. Michael Kleiner to present the initial work of this project.
Awesome, thank you very much. Distinguished participants, first of all, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present this project, and I would like to draw your attention now to the subject which is rather invisible in the forest. Greenhouse gases and carbon and so on is something that at first look rather strange. As Hassan has mentioned, this is a 5 years undertaking together with of course on behalf of the government of Singapore, and the project actually is about setting up, we'll come later on to the objectives, carbon accounting system for the land use sector in Singapore. Singapore is reporting to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change already in other sectors, industry, traffic and so on, but the land use sector is something which has not been reported in the reports every 2 years to the UNFCCC. So this should now be developed and in cooperation with ANRICA from Austria. So this is a very, I mean, we have very little time for explaining the project, so just a small run through the content of the project, some of the objectives, then a little bit about the IPCC MRV standards, the challenges in Singapore's vegetation, cover and land use, then some of the project work which is intended to be done, as well as some elements of such a greenhouse gas monitoring system. Of course, everything is done in a very collaborative manner, so our partner in some of the operations is the National Institute of Education, so my colleague Kang Min will then introduce the implementation of this system. Well, the consortium, actually ANRICA, is a technology platform, this specialized institution in remote sensing, in environment agency, plus inventory work. And of course you may ask the question, why an Austrian consortium being put or entrusted with actually helping in setting up such a system. First of all, the Environment Agency Austria has a long-term experience in greenhouse gas reporting, first of all for Austria, but also assists many other countries so far in the last 15 years, as well as they are also certified UNFCCC reviewers. So even they review assessments in other countries. So pretty good experiences in this kind of work. Then of course the Federal Research Institute on Forest, they do national inventories since 1957, so a long-term experience in measuring above ground biomass, including growth in yield studies and soil carbon. And Johan Human Research as an expert institution in remote sensing, innovative approaches in satellite image interpretation and modeling. Well, the objective of the project is IPCC Tier 3 greenhouse gas monitoring and reporting system, developing the system, as well as piloting the system over a 5-year period. And the establishment of such a system in its full integration into national greenhouse gas reporting and the institutional environment of Singapore. So it's not only developing it, but really getting it started, of course with all collaboration, so that it is nationalized at the very end. Well, for understanding the project activities, one needs a little bit to look at the IPCC standards, and here a lot is talked about Tier 1, Tier 2 and Tier 3. Tier 3 should be the objective of the project. So Singapore at the end would like to apply the highest standards in reporting on carbon accounting, which is tier 3. Tier 1 is simply to take standard methods as well as default parameters which are given in IPCC guidelines. Tier 2, similar thing, is a little bit regional and country-specific data, but tier 3 is the challenge. You have remeasurement, local data, inventory, yeah? And this is actually, Singapore is heading for tier 3. We, of course, try to help so that the tier 3 standard can be arranged and can be achieved. Other aspects of IPCC standards are 6 land use classes: forest land, cropland, grassland, wetland, settlement, and other land. Then the 6 carbon pools on which carbon changes have to be reported. And most importantly, reporting on carbon emissions and removals. So how much vegetation is emitting into the atmosphere and how much, because of growth, is actually removed from the atmosphere. That means influencing in 2 levels: change in area of land use classes. That means the vegetation is removed for a housing estate, means emission because the vegetation is removed, or change of carbon stocks due to growth, decay, and other land management within these classes. So these are the 2 levels where the assessment is taking place. Of course, you know your country very well, and you know also there is a high regard for maintaining, restoring vegetation is a prime objective in your country, which still has a rapid urbanization. But in the past 30 years, actually, when you look at some of the history, significant increase in vegetation cover and density took place. When you look at the studies of CRISP, for example, since 1986 and 2007, although there has been areas developed for urbanization, density of vegetation, regreening of reclaimed land took place, so there is an increase in vegetation, and all, of course, contains carbon and is important for this accounting. Large forest areas are still there: primary forest patches, secondary forest, and the particular challenge is the vegetation urban areas, yeah, which includes streetscape, parkland, landscape gardens, golf courses, sports fields, and even rooftop and vertical greenery. Quite a challenge. Well, the scope of the work is actually screening of existing information. This is very, very important. You have done, and particularly the research community, since many years, decades, a lot of research in terms of monitoring permanent plots and so on. All these data is very important actually to take into account. So this kind of data screening and existing information is the first part we are doing at the moment. Then activity data assessment of land use. And here I would like to show you satellite image interpretation, which we need to look back until 1989. It's an IPCC requirement. See the land use change until today, and then from today onwards, every year to see the changes. How much land is converted, what is regrowing, are there some open areas which are covered by vegetation, others is maybe removed due to development work. And just preliminary, you can see here some of the preliminary mapping exercises. Forest area, you can see settlement areas, in settlements, tree covered, and those areas. On the right side you see a golf course with tree covered areas as well as other areas which is a mix of solitary trees and grassland. Other areas in city, here the Mount Faber forest area, that there are forest areas within settlements. The red one is the sealed area, which is simply no vegetation, but you can see even on the right side a small spot, more than 5 hectare forest, but on the left lower side you can see city vegetation. It's tree covered within the city and does not qualify as a forest. So this one needs to define. Within these categories then there is a biomass deadwood emission factors assessment, so information needed measuring incremental changes on carbon stocks, forming models to predict the growth and yield and so on, monitoring changes in carbon stocks due to human and natural disturbances. And of course here one needs a permanent field sampling network. One cannot do without if one wants to achieve tier 3. And of course here the intention is to use as much as possible of the existing setup, integrate it, and add only this in terms of new plots and a new setup which is needed to complement to reach tier 3. and as well as also a permanent setup somehow in the settlement areas, you can see. Even litter soil emission factors need to be identified and assessed, and this of course goes into litter layers and soil layers. But of course, as you know, there's a high spatial heterogeneity of soil carbon. It's impossible to do a sampling because even within 1-2 meters, at the same site condition, you have changes in carbon stocks and even in emissions and removals. So therefore, the common procedures are to have, of course, soil assessments, but then spatial modeling of these changes based on topography, quick assessments, and so on. And here, most probably, a soil carbon model called YASO, which has some climate data input and so on, will be applied with outputs of soil carbon change, and respirations. Of course, the other work involved in the project is then modeling and data processing. Sure, this is standards in IPCC prescribing these, how this should be done. And of course, uncertainty analysis. You know, IPCC was wise not to give any standard, plus minus 10% or something like that, because they know these results can be very variable. But one condition is that the moment you produce a result, you have to explain in a transparent manner how it was produced and where are the uncertainties in terms of wood density, in terms of sampling error of the vegetation, variation in carbon stocks or down vegetation and so on. So it will be transparent. And from there, IPCC allows then a gradual improvement over time when better data are available, when better figures, when better models are available, to increase, but you need to be transparent. So this is then part of the quality assurance in the whole system. Of course, then one needs to have this interface to the national greenhouse reporting, but which is rather easy, because simply the figures of carbon emissions and removals is then brought up to the national level to be integrated in the annual report. So much forest land carbon change, so much settlement carbon change, and together with industry, traffic, and other sectors, it's reported to the IPCC. And of course, finally also technical guidelines, and of course definitely working together with colleagues to build up the expertise and capacity to do this on a national level. Well, and now I hand over to my colleague for some aspects on implementation.
Thank you, Michael. So as Michael mentioned, carbon accounting is a huge undertaking, especially for Tier 3 level, but it can be divided into these sections. So for reporting and verification, Enrique will be helping us a lot in these sections. But when it comes to monitoring the actual groundwork, we have to rely heavily on local agencies and institutions. So for example, for this land use change and forest activity, it involves mapping. And so we work with various government agencies like NParks, with Chris from NUS, and other agencies like SLA and URA to obtain various kinds of maps. And for these two other sections, biomass, deadwood, litter, and soil, mostly involve setting up field plots and doing field surveys and eventually modeling these processes. And so we are working with NIE and NParks for these two sections. So NIE's role in this project as an educational institution is to translate some of these science and research into benefits for Singapore's education system. Because it would be a lost opportunity in this partnership with Enrique if we did not, if these results did not manifest in some tangible benefits for Singapore beyond reporting for an international agency. So some of the things we could do are teacher training via field work, offering internships for teachers, development of activities and even school curriculum, encouraging schools to run parallel programs, for example, a school-based carbon monitoring program within the school, and lastly, informal education to get the public involved in this process. There are a few other reasons why NIE is suitable for this partnership. Since 1992, NIE has had a partnership with the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute. And this started with a 2-hectare plot in Bukit Timah Nature Reserve. And since then, we have expanded to other areas in Bukit Timah and set up other plots, measuring trees in Bukit Timah. And so we have expertise in long-term forest research studies. And more recently, in 2008, we had a carbon monitoring program in Bukit Timah. And this is a paper that was published from the results of this carbon study. So the results here are a direct contribution to this carbon report. And also, because of these plots, we also have long-standing relationships with NParks, especially colleagues from the Conservation Division, and more recently, as we expand our work into street trees, we are also collaborating with our streetscape colleagues. So other roles that NIE can play in this project are to share the expertise with AMRICA and our knowledge in the local vegetation and carbon assessment in Singapore. We can also serve as a contact point for AMRICA for various local agencies and institutions to get relevant data for carbon reporting. And we are also in a good position to coordinate field activities and groundwork in Singapore because we have experience in Bukit Timah and also in Central Nature Reserve. And because NIE is an educational institution, we are also in a good position to do capacity building in schools and also in other government agencies. So to sum it up, measuring carbon, if you really want to get down to it, it's form filling and accounting exercise. But through collaborations with other expert and educational institutions, we could achieve a lot more. For example, we could help more people enjoy the learning of science and its application. We can get more people to bond with the environment and nature because all this involves a lot of field work. And through the field work, we can derive a lot of fun. And lastly, this is important because it's a positive contribution to a globally important agenda. Thank you.